Roscosmos, the Russian space agency, has announced that they have planned to send astronauts back to the moon by 2029. And in preparation, they have started one very peculiar experiment where 6 Russian women have entered seclusion for 8 days, Nick, trying to simulate the time and the seclusion of travel to the moon back and forth. And they're trying to see if there's any physiological differences in an all-female crew. This is going to happen at Moscow at the Institute of Biomedical Problems, famous for researching the psychological and physiological effects of space travel in the human body. They've done it in the past. They locked up 8 different astronauts for 520 days to simulate a travel to Mars. So they've done it before. Now, the big controversy is right before these astronauts or potential astronauts went into seclusion, the media asked a bunch of silly questions that they felt that they were misogynistic because they were saying, how are you guys going to live without makeup? How are you guys going to wash your hair? And the astronauts were like, guys, the men don't get these questions asked. We have a job. We're going to do 10 different research experiments. We have no time to think about men. We don't have time to think about our beauty. We're going to do a job. What's going on? Why are they asking these questions?
Well, because it's Eastern Europe, and if you thought this society was patriarchal, Eastern Europe's much worse. I think there's a way that they could save themselves, though. So if they do like a separate one for the male astronauts, maybe they can ask them questions, be like, well, what are you going to do without vodka and like Adidas sweatpants and shitty techno music? And they can be like, no, we ask everyone gender questions.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is that they are pushing this idea of sending an all-female crew to the moon by 2029. And in order to do so, some of the leaders of the space program, actually, they have a kind of a faux pas of sorts saying, well, we really want to see this because normally when you have 2 housewives in one kitchen, things don't go very well. So we want to make sure that they can get along. Very weird approach.
In Chechnya, they got way more than 1 housewife in one kitchen. They got like 5.
Ironically, though, the first woman to go to space was a Russian, Valentina Tereshkova, back in 1963. But since, there's only been 5 more. Compared to the United States, we have over 50 different women that have been in space. So the gender gap is pretty big, and some are qualifying this experiment just as a rush to kind of bring equality to the space program. But at the same time, it's kind of, who cares if they're men or women? If they're qualified and they're going to do a good job, I think they have the same chance.
No, without a doubt. I totally agree with you, but this kind of makes me think, are we missing out on this new excitement over the moon? We see the Chinese, the Russians, the European Space Agency, everyone's teaming up together, and they're all putting their sights back on the moon. We're focusing on Mars, which in itself is awesome, right? Mm-hmm. We always want to be the first to do things, but people are focusing back in on Mars. I know the Chinese are planning on mining, extracting all sorts of different materials from the moon, so we potentially could find ourselves, if we don't jump on this bandwagon, down the line, I don't know what's going to come out of it. I don't think anyone knows what's going to come out of it if we're looking 50 years in the future, but we could potentially see ourselves being behind these countries.
The main goal of the Russian exploration of the moon is exactly to see the possibilities of creating settlements of humans in the moon and what that entails. We want to know your thoughts below for this story. Share them in the comment section, and if you haven't, please subscribe to LibTV2.